Hi everybody, here we are again, Pie Man Live, pumpkin pie today. We'll give it a couple of minutes like normal, let everybody sort of jump in and get a thumbs up from the boss over there telling me whether, oh she's in, so we're good. And we're live, see, practice run works, practice makes perfection, or so they say. Right, so I'll quickly run through the ingredients. Make sure you've got everything. So for the flour, for the pastry, it was 500 plain flour, 60 mils of ice cold water with 2 eggs in it, which you should have in the fridge. 250 of butter diced up. I did put on here 250 of lard because I was doing a savoury one and I forgot we're doing a sweet one. But if you've done that, not a problem. It won't make too much difference. But it's just better if it's all butter. So you should have eggs and stuff in there, and the butter diced up, and that'll be ready to go in a second. Then we should have 450 of pumpkin puree, 3 eggs, 250 of light or dark brown sugar, depending on what you got, tablespoon of corn flour, pinch of salt, cinnamon, ginger, nutmeg, pinch of black pepper, 240 of double cream, 60 of milk, and some maple syrup if you wanted to go with it. Probably going to whip up a few decorations on it as well. We put like a bit of a rope around the outside, and I'll teach you how to do some leaves. Put them on, and then I'll go through roughly with these tins. I've got various tins. Everybody has different size tins, so it's going to be a little bit of mixing and matching when you all shout out at me what sort of size tins you've got. I have a nice fluted one there. I have a deep one there. I'm probably going to use this one because it'd be closer to what people will have. I mean, that's a proper flan tin. Not everybody's going to have that, so I'm going to go with that. And so it'll be a bit trickier to roll, but it'd be good if everybody else is doing it and seeing that you can do that. But whatever you've got, you just need something that's deep because we're going to be pouring a liquid mix into it. And when you want the pumpkin pie, we want to see that much pumpkin when we slice it after. So it's no good having one of these thin sort of quiche things because it just won't work. You will probably have mix left over. Again, it was a little bit hard to judge what size tins people are going to have. So I've done a mix that's going to sort of cover everything. Hopefully you've got a nice big one, you can get everything in there all put in, and if we've got a little bit of mix left we can roll out some little ones. If you've got muffin tarts, that would be great because you can roll some little pastry in there and we can have some little individuals, nice samples. Yep, so we should be able to get through all of that. Pumpkin, again, that was another hard thing to judge because some pumpkins are like that, some are like that, some are like that. I don't know what sizes you're getting, so I basically said get a couple of small ones, roast them off.
Duncan said he's got a flan.
You got a flan case. As long as he's nice and deep, don't you'll be alright. So pumpkin puree, there's mine, that's my 450. But I've also got about 2/3 of that again in the fridge. I'm going to show everybody how to make a pumpkin soup halfway through while we're cooking it. So that you can use your excess pumpkin up in that. Or if you've got extra pumpkin left, pop it in the freezer, take it out, make Halloween pie next week. So there's no wastage here. Right, how many people have we got in? There's a few watching. Hopefully all the bakers are here ready to go. Later on tonight I shall be, I don't know who did, what did he bake on? Oh, Mississippi mud pie, the River Creed Wicked River mud pie. We had drummer, was it Lee Riders Creek came on with me and we did the Mississippi mud pie. We also had the bass guitarist from these Wicked Rivers, Dan. He baked with us. If you remember, he was eating the pot of KFC in midstream. So that's how we ended up devising our own KFC mix, because seeing that. Anyway, so these Wicked Rivers, there you go there. I have cups, I have mugs, I've had coasters, I've got a t-shirt somewhere, a bit like this one actually, the Ringer. Pie Man Live, still buy these. Yeah, so they're playing tonight, so if you fancy after this going over and seeing a gig, it's live. I think it's about a tenner. I'm not too sure what time they're on. I think they're on about 9ish, so and they're really good. I'll play a bit for you now actually. What are we, 5 past, 3 minutes past, so we'll get going in a sec. Let's just put a bit of Wicked Rivers on. Helps if I Bluetooth it in first, doesn't it?
I do like that one.
But yeah, so if you fancy listening to this after, you can go and do it. Josie's one of the managers, part of the management team. That's why she's not here tonight doing it. Dig Lazarus are there as well, and what's the other band? Dax Roxanne. So 3 bands, a tenner live. You can watch it all on your screen, and it is really good. Right, we'll give it 2 more minutes. I'll just connect up my Bluetooth, and then we'll.
So I think Emma was asking about the tins again. I think people have got pastry cases, but that's fine, isn't it?
Yep, not a problem. So people who've got pastry cases, are they already made pastry cases, or is it pastry to do yourself?
If they could just shout out, let me know.
Yeah, if you give us, while we're waiting, we'll give it another 2 minutes and then we'll start making the pastry. So obviously all these people that have made their pastry, you ain't going to be worrying about this next stage. You can just kick back and relax.
I'll give a shout out to Ian, our B magazine.
Oh, magazine, yeah.
Oh, the t-shirt.
Oh, she's got a t-shirt. She can do this part. There you go.
There you go. That's the t-shirt that you can get from so the new magazine that's out. This is the first copy. They sold out, but they've actually got another load in, so you can go on their website and reorder the magazine or get the t-shirt.
And Pie Man's in it with a recipe. I can't connect my Bluetooth. It's doing me head in that. Perhaps we can't listen to them.
Duncan said his pastry's pre-made, uncooked.
Pre-made, uncooked. Right, okay, not a problem. You just sit back.
Emma Terry said she's got frozen pastry.
Yeah, frozen, but obviously not frozen solid. You've taken it out, I hope. Because you ain't going to be rolling it out, are you?
Mark James wants to know the shot words.
I don't know, Mark. What shot words do you want to do?
Shout some at me, Mark.
Shout some at her. It's like a bit of this, a bit of soul-y rock. So that's what we're doing after. We're going to catch a bit of these wicked rivers. Right, I think it's probably about time to start. So, pastry people who've got cases already done, have a drink. People who've got your frozen pastry or your ready-made pastry, have 1 drink, because we'll be coming to you in a second. People that are making pastry, get your aprons on.
Oh, we've got shot words, I think. Okay, I'm not going to do pumpkin, that's too...
Pumpkin's too easy. Right, let's turn that way and let's get it going.
Pie. There's 1 word. Pie.
Pie, there you go.
That's from Ian Torben.
Hi, you're in. Alright, mate. Right, so we're going to do flour first. So, 500 plain flour in a bowl, pinch of salt. Head to your fridge, get your eggs, your butter, and your water mix.
Eggs,
Butter, 60 mils of water, 2 eggs.
So shot words are pie, eggs and whisk.
Right, I'm going to move you here, and then I'm going to show you the close-up of the pastry. Right, so we have our 3 ingredients, eggs and water in there, all nice and cold. The reason why we have it cold is because our hands are hot, and we want to be able to handle this pastry after. So we start with everything cold, and then we don't turn it into too much of whatever. Grab yourself a fork as well. And some people might need a bit of extra water. I don't know until we get going. But you can just follow me. Right, so salt, flour, diced butter.
Helen said, do we need the lard?
Helen, you can do 250 of butter, or you can do 250 of lard. I've gone with 250 of butter. I kind of wrote the recipe out wrong, because when you put lard in it, it's more the savoury. This is more of a sweet, flaky pastry. Right, so in there, fingertips. Basically, you just want to work this here, and then when we're doing it, and then just wash your hands first, don't forget that. What you want to do is just crush that butter between your fingers. Basically make this into breadcrumbs. So if we just get going with that. If the picture's not right, you're going to have to move it up, love, now, because I've got floury hands.
It's fine, looking at here.
Yeah. So literally, get your hands right underneath, just keep turning that flour up, and then I'm just like pressing the butter. Use your thumbs and your sort of your forefinger, and then just press it all the way through. You do need an apron on for this as well, especially if you're wearing black, because flour just gets everywhere. I have a weekend off. I won't be at work for 2 days. I'll put a black t-shirt on and somehow it gets covered in flour. I don't even know where it comes from. Flour is just, oh, it's a nightmare. Right, so we just keep turning this over until we work this in. And don't worry if in a minute you got a few little lumps of butter that haven't mixed in properly. Not a problem, because they're just melting the pastry when we cook it, and they sort of give it a little bit of nice flavour and that, the butter and that. So I like to use my fingers like that, like a little sift, and then just sift it around and then start working it again. This will take us about 5 minutes to do this. Now if you don't use all this pastry, put it in a bit of cling film, pop it in the freezer, and then just take it out for a pie or something another time.
Shot.
Yeah, I can't do shots, I've got drinks on at the moment.
Everyone else can.
Everybody else can do shots, especially them people that have cheated and brought in pastry and brought in cases. If you have brought pastry that's brought in, make sure it has thawed out. Perhaps maybe just take it out and leave it on the side for 5 minutes now. Because we're going to have the opposite. We're going to have to pop ours in the fridge for sort of 5 minutes just to get it to cool down. Ideally, I would have made this like the day before. As you can see, it's taking a bit of time to do. Shots, eh? Shots. That should be the shot word, shots. That'd be a nightmare word. Right, I'm starting to get there now. Right, where everybody mucks up with pastry is the next stage. Once you get these breadcrumbs, we're all right. But once we add liquid into it, you've got to work it as least as you can, because the gluten will go tough. That's what makes pastry tough, when you lose the flakiness. So if you start kneading the hell out of it and everything, you just ruin your pastry and you end up with that sort of harder pastry. So this is sort of the working stage, and it's very hard to make this in the summer, you know, when it's warm because of the butter. But if you'll notice, this butter now is, I mean, mine's still really cold in here. There's a big splodge on the floor.
George Hill said that they didn't get the ingredients in, but he's gonna make it and watch it back.
You're gonna make it, George. Good man. Yeah, get that box of pie orders in that you want. Let us know. Tell us beginning of the week whenever you want, and we can sort that out for you.
Duncan Tyler's drinking pints, but we don't need to shot the whole pint.
Yeah, you don't have to shot a pint, Dun. Just have a finger.
Libby's watching. Is she baking?
How you, Libs? Are you baking, Libs? Get Joe on there. Right, I'm there now. So if you can see that now, sort of breadcrumby. I've got the odd lump of butter in there. Not too fussed with that, because it makes a nice buttery pastry. Right, make a well in the middle. Take your cold water mix and your egg mix. Tip that in there. Give that to somebody else, and they will fill that up with a little bit of water for you. Because in a second you're going to get messy hands, so you just got a little bit more water to hand. Again, you can't judge exactly what water everybody's going to use, because it all depends on the heat of your hands and your thing. So take a fork in the middle, and we just want to stir this around like that. Just gradually drag all that into it, like so. So you can see I'm just pulling it in. I'm not kneading it or nothing. Not at the moment. It should start forming together. And like I say, we're probably going to need a bit more water to get it to the right stage. So as you can see, I'm not kneading this or nothing, so I'm not overworking it. Right, so I've mixed my first original. Cold liquid's gone in. Right, now take your hands, open your hand like that, and literally like a claw, and then just do that, and then use it like a sort of a whisk. So now I'm just going to pull everything in together without actually maneuvering it. I'm just gently lifting that up into there, and I can feel down there there's a bit of dryness, so I'm going to have a little touch of water again. Now you have to add the water gradually, don't overdo it, as you'll just end up with a runny mix. So literally I'm turning my bowl and I'm just turning the flour, I'm just literally dragging it in, and I'm feeling how it's going. Again, I can see another little pocket there. You'll notice the top's like quite done, but down below is where you get the sort of dry pockets of flour that's not mixing in. So again, just gently turning that in. Don't go kneading it. You do not need it. Just literally turn your bowl and then drag your hand through it, and then you're basically mixing it in as slow as you can. See, I've added probably another 2 tablespoons at the moment. I reckon I probably need another 1 or 2. I can just see it starting to go. Right, so get your hand right underneath now, and then turn it over a little bit. So I'm trying to do this one-handed. Normally I do 2. Let's just go with that. So now turn that over. Now I can see all the breadcrumbs there again. You can see it's starting to clump together. See that? We're getting bits together, which is what we want. So I want about another bit of that. Even though I'm working a bit faster now, I'm still not mixing it. I'm just mixing it faster. That's all. I'm just turning it around faster. I'm not pushing it together or anything yet. And you should all start coming together, and you should lose all of the dryness. So I've still got dryness there, if you can see that. So I'm going to turn that to the top. Take another, so what's that? I reckon that's about another 5 tablespoons. But if this butter was too hot, I would probably not used much, because of the hot butter. The warm butter would have done it. But the more water you can get in, the better your pastry is. The more water we can get in there, the better, which is why if you go too hot, you can hardly get any water in. I think I'm nearly there now. You'll notice it start to clean the bowl. Right, let's show everybody what we got here now. I think we're there. Hands clean. Right, so you notice now you can start to see the bowl cleaning. Can we see that, love? Can we?
Yeah.
Right, so now turn and press it together without kneading it. Don't knead it, just press it down. Just press that down like that. Now I'm going to tip that out onto there. It's always just a bit easier now when you get onto your table. And then just press that together. And if you've got a little bit there, and then you can see that I've got a tiny bit there that's just a little bit, so you can just a little tablespoon, just a little bit there to drag that in. Now you just want to press that together because you want to keep this short. So I've not kneaded it at all, I've literally just pressed it together. Could you just undo the flour for me, love? I forgot that.
Where is it?
It's just here behind me. Right, so there we go. There's our pastry. This is another trick just to get it off your hands. Just tip me a little bit in there. Keep a bit of flour in your hands like that, and then you can just rub your hands down, get your hands clean. And it wouldn't hurt to turn your ovens on now to 190, because we've got to blind bake this in about 10-15 minutes. Right, so you can see I've used that flour to clean my hands. Just put that into there, pat it all together. You can see it's quite short, which is good. This makes it harder to roll out, but it's better for the pastry. You can see I've got chunks of butter in there. Now we want to flatten that down and pop it into a bag and get that into the fridge, or into a bit of cling film if you've got some cling film. But can you flatten it out so we can get this chilled down? This is why this would normally have been done, you know, a couple of hours before. We'd have this ready to go now, but because I need to show everybody how to do it, so flatten him down, get them as flat as you can, pop him in a bag. And have a quick clear down, 2 seconds.
Do you need these off? Oh, I don't know why. You do that.
Right, is everybody up to my stage now? Has everybody got their flowers in the freezer, in the fridge?
I know Duncan's got his oven on.
Duncan's got his oven on, good. Right, let's pop me back up there. I can talk to everybody better now. Right, so hopefully we should all have pastry in the fridge chilling down. You saw I rolled him out, just flattening down. I've made mine very short because I like a shorter pastry. Also, it's going to be very hard to roll out for me, but at least I can show you that part as well. It's very crumbly, but when I roll it, it's probably going to break down a bit. But you put it in and then you just mould it in, so you don't have to have a short pastry. You're better off having a short pastry than one that's been overworked because you've just kneaded the hell out of it.
You owed about 5 shots, so do you want to just do happy birthday to Beverly?
Oh yeah, happy birthday
Beverly.
Powers.
Cheers.
Jack Daniels, lime and coke.
I'll say hi to Simon as well. It's his drink.
Who?
Good, yeah. It's his drink, isn't it?
Oh, is it? Right, so hopefully everybody's got pastry done in. The guys that are doing bought pastry, have you taken that out? And has everybody got their ovens on at 190?
Geraldine's got ball pastry.
Bought pastry, not a problem, Geraldine. Middle shelf we want for this one. So middle or bottom, don't have it up high, middle or bottom's good. And it's not going to be like the Japanese cheesecake last week where it's going to come up here. We ain't got to worry about the top of the thing. Right, I need to just wipe down my surface there. Right, so the next stage, we need to, we'll just start getting together the mix. But we could do with blind baking the thing soon as well. So what you're going to do is, you ever heard of soggy bottoms? Everybody's heard of soggy bottoms. Basically, when you've got pastry and you're adding a liquid to it, you stand a good chance of having a soggy bottom. So the way around this, the way around the soggy bottom is to blind bake it, which basically you're going to put some paper in it, some baking beans or pasta or something to hold it down. We're going to pop it in the oven for about 10 minutes and give it a head start, so it kind of seals the pastry, a bit like you seal meat when you do your steaks, keep the juices in. We're going to seal the pastry base so that we can then pour our liquid in and it shouldn't have a soggy bottom. Because obviously a lot of this is a liquid mix. Right, let's have a thumbs up from everybody that's making pastry.
Libby's given a thumbs up.
Right, so if everybody's making pastry, can you tell me who's making the fresh pastry? Because if it's only me, I'll get straight on with it and I'll roll it out warm. I'll be able to do it, but everybody else needs another sort of 5 minutes. Helen, what are you doing?
She's making pastry. She was asking about lard, wasn't she?
Oh yeah, so you're making the pastry. Okay then, so that's 2 of us.
I don't know
So
about Mark James.
we'll just hold back a
What's he
fraction.
doing?
Right, so hopefully you've all got your tins. If you're struggling with tins, Joe Constable, Ewan and Natalie, your red one. Use your red one. That was the better one. And don't worry if we get extra mix. We can sort that out and we can do all that and
Mark's
get that
doing
sorted.
pastry.
I mean, if you've got enough pastry left and you've got another tin, you might be able to make 2 up anyway, or a smaller one.
Paul Damon's brought his pastry.
Okay. Raw people, get it out.
Neil Hunter, he ain't doing anything.
Neil Hunter, he ain't doing anything. Right, so,
Sarah Davis got pre-made.
yeah, rolling pins. So everybody should have rolling pins, apart from the people who have brought an actual case with the pastry already cooked in it. So you want a rolling pin, you want a bit of flour for dusting.
Oh, Ian Corbyn's doing fresh pastry.
Flour for dusting. Give yourself a nice bit of space because you've got to roll that out. So I want a nice surface there so I can roll out on. I need to dry that though because that's a bit wet. Right, in the meantime, we could probably, while we're waiting for that to go, we can probably start with the egg mix.
Helen's not quite ready, but she said you can carry on. She'll catch up. She'll take notes. Libby said, do I need to pre-bake my pastry case to avoid soggy bottom?
Yes, you do, Libby, and you should know better.
She might just be asking.
She's trying to catch me out. Yep. We will do the. If you've filled your pastry out libs, you can start blind baking it because you know what you're doing. But for everybody else, if you just hold on 2 seconds.
So it's Ian, Mark, Helen. I know they're doing their own pastry.
Right, so they're doing their pastry. Now we're going to crack on with the mix. So you want a mixing bowl. This is so simple. There's just nothing to it really. You want a mixing bowl. Crack your 3 eggs.
Shot.
Is that a shot word, is it?
Eggs. Get what you are.
Crack 3 of them into said mixing bowl. No shells though, we don't want any shells in there.
That's crack.
So 3 eggs, 450 of pumpkin puree. Pop it under there, then it won't hang out. 450 of pumpkin puree. If you've got a little bit of liquid, just drain it off. You can see that I've got a little bit of liquid there. We don't really want that in, so I'm just gonna tip that down the sink a little bit.
Geraldine said, could you hang on a minute? She's just putting a pastry in a dish.
Yep. No problem, Geraldine, but we'll just do this, so you just shout out and I'll go back through it. So, pumpkin puree in with the eggs.
I suppose people should have been doing that when you made your pastry.
Well, no, because if I get everybody doing different stages, it's a nightmare, isn't it? They've all got to do it together, that's why. And then your sugar. So 3 things in the bowl. So it's 3 of the chicken eggs.
Shot.
Try to like get around it.
Yeah,
So 3 of them. Your sugar and your pumpkin puree. Right, so that goes in said bowl. Grab a whisk and then just break this down. So do people want to decorate the top or do they just want to leave it plain? I'll let you lot decide. If you tell me you want to decorate the top, I'll show you how to do some leaves. You can put a rope around the outside, just fancy it up a little bit. As you can see now, I've got light brown sugar, but it's still made quite a dark mix. I haven't even added my spices yet, if you look at that there. So if you've got dark brown sugar, you'll probably have a darker mix, but don't worry about it. The darker brown sugar is amazing taste, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. Right, so I'm whisking that up.
Emma said, can we decorate?
Yeah, okay, we'll decorate then. There you go, Emma decided. Right, so I've mixed the eggs, the pumpkin puree, and the sugar in there. It's all mixed up, all incorporated. Right, let's take my glass, any of my glasses for this. So next, you want a tablespoon of corn flour. Just pop that straight into the mix. Like so. And then we should have a pinch of salt, 2 tablespoons of cinnamon, half a teaspoon of ginger, half a teaspoon of nutmeg, and some black pepper. I popped all mine in there together and I've mixed it all up. So I'm just going to tip the whole lot in there. So that's all 4 of them spices have gone in. Now, if you like your stuff spicy, as in Christmassy spicy, feel free to add another half a teaspoon of ginger or another half teaspoon of cinnamon. It all adds to the flavour. It's totally down to your taste. So if you want to add a little bit more now, do that. Obviously don't add more pepper or salt because there's plenty of that, but if you want to add some different spices, if you've got a bit of mixed spice or what's the other one, mace, is it?
Mace, yeah.
Yeah, you've got a bit of mace, you could pop some of that in. Anything along them Christmassy lines, chuck it in, it doesn't matter. The more spicier you like it, put an extra half a teaspoon or teaspoon in. Next one, I did say to people if you wanted maple syrup, it's expensive, we have some. 2 tablespoons of that just adds a nice bit of flavour. If you haven't got it, it doesn't matter, don't panic, you don't need to put it in.
Geraldine wants to know how much pumpkin mix.
450. So there we go, 2 tablespoons of that's gone in, maple syrup. 450 grams of the pumpkin, Geraldine. Right, next you should have 240 of cream and 60 of milk, so 300 in total. That goes straight into that mix as well. I've got mine already weighed out. Right, so is everybody all...
Paul Dayton said, will golden syrup be okay?
You could put a bit of golden syrup in. I mean, you've got enough sugar in there anyway. It's just the maple syrup has a lot of different... If you want to pop some in, it's not going to harm it, put it that way. But the maple syrup just has that nice... I mean, if you ever have proper maple syrup and rubbish maple syrup, that there's from Canada. I'm assuming that was from...
Libby.
That was from Libby. Our daughter went to Canada last year, so that's proper, authentic Canadian maple syrup. Right, so now I've got all my stuff in there. I've got my cream, I've got my puree, and now I'm just going to whisk all that up. Let's see if you can see me doing that. There we go. Right, while I'm doing that, I'm going to pop my glasses on, just make sure I popped everything in, because I do have a habit of forgetting things. As you can see, we've got a reasonably runny mix. If you had, Geraldine said she had a drier pumpkin than me, so it doesn't matter if yours isn't as runny as mine. In theory, you'd be better off having it a bit thicker anyway.
Is it 240 millilitres of cream, James wants to know?
240 of double cream, 60 of milk. I've got my pepper in there, got my cream, got my pepper, nutmeg, you know, it's mostly sugar-free. Right, that's what I've got.
Can you go through the dry mix for Geraldine, please?
The Geraldine, the dry mix, right, you've got 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, half a teaspoon of ginger, half a teaspoon of nutmeg, a pinch of salt and a pinch of black pepper. If you haven't got one or the others, you know, if you're missing the nutmeg, say for instance, that's always a bit harder to get hold of, just pop an extra half a teaspoon of cinnamon in. Or if you've got mixed spices, you could literally just put 3 teaspoons of that in and don't need to put the ginger and stuff in. And if you want it a bit more spicier, add a little bit more.
Natalie said, did I miss adding the cream and milk?
Yep, so Natalie, you should have had your pumpkin puree, your 3 eggs, your dark brown sugar. That should have been mixed up. Then we should have added salt, your spices, which is cinnamon, ginger, nutmeg, pepper, salt. Then the 240 double cream, 60 mils of milk, and I added the optional maple syrup, and that is the pumpkin pie mix.
Shot, sorry. Not very good on short words.
Not very good on short words. That's because I have to concentrate nowadays. There's lots of quite more people doing it, getting more questions.
I mean, I've got Mark reminding us. Mark Robinson.
Yeah. Right, so if you've got your mix, set that aside. We don't need that for 5 minutes. As you can see, now if you're looking at your tin, you're gonna be able to have a look and gauge. You think, oh, I've got too much mix now. This is where you're gonna end up having some extras or whatever you can do. But we'll sort all that out as we go along.
Geraldine said corn flour, question mark?
Yep, corn flour went in. Yep, chuck the corn flour in. Basically, the whole of the mix, anything that was on that recipe should be in there. 450 of pumpkin puree, 3 eggs, dark brown sugar 250, mix it up, chuck in corn flour, salt, cinnamon, nutmeg, ginger, pepper, double cream, milk, maple syrup if you add it. And that should be a runny, this is like we say to all our customers, it is like egg custard, but a Christmas version. Right, so now this is where everybody that had brought in pastry should be on that part there. They should have done that. Duncan, who had the case, you should have made that part. So Duncan, you can sit back. People who've got the pastry now, you can go and get it from the fridge and we're going to start rolling it. And then us that have made it, go and get yours from the fridge and then we'll start rolling that as well.
Geraldine's saying how much, sorry, can't get the list up.
How much what, Geraldine?
I wonder if it's corn flour, just put a question mark there.
A tablespoon of corn flour. Just a tablespoon in there. Just helps set it up a bit.
Oh, Claire's helped her out, yeah. Thanks, Claire.
Is that Claire?
Bill.
Right, so for this, you need a rolling pin, your flour, your surface, and your pastry. Oh, and a pound coin. Watch everybody panic now. They're all going, oh, I've got a pound coin. But that's basically what we want to roll our pastry thickness to, a pound coin thickness. So, because everybody's going to say, how thick's it got to be, how's it? And I can just say, pop a pound coin down, you want it about just over that. Because you don't want it too thick, as you end up with the one I made yesterday, because I was rushing it at work and I made it too thick, and then we just had a bit of a too thick a crust of pastry on it. Right, so everybody go and get your pastry.
Jordan said mine's in the oven already.
What?
Oh, she must be in the pastry.
In the oven?
Yeah, she said mine's in the oven already.
I don't know. Well, if you've got your pastry in the oven already, Geraldine, you're quicker than me. I don't know how you done that.
She had frozen. Does she have?
Right, so we're going to sprinkle a bit of flour down. Let's see if I tip that down, then you can watch me roll mine. Right, like I said, I kept mine purposely short, as in I could have added a bit more water, but I wanted it crumbly, just to show people a hard pastry to roll out when it's crumbly. Look, you can see mine's crumbling already as I'm taking it out. But I want to show you that doesn't matter. Right, so I'm going to do in the tricky tin there. Keep that handy. I'm probably going to take half of that. No, I'm going to take 2/3 of that for mine. Right, I'm just going to pop that back in the fridge because I don't want that at the moment. Right, now just lightly dust your pastry. Get a bit underneath it so we can move it around the table like that. And now press it to whatever shape you've got. If you've got square tins, you want to make your pastry oblong. If you're using like a tray bake kind of tin. If you've got round tins, which I assume most people have, start with a round shape. Basically, whatever you're doing, when you're doing with pastry, start with your shape. Whatever you want to make it. If you're doing sausage rolls, you want to start with a long piece, so you fold it out so that it's easier to make the shape, if that makes sense. Right, so if you want round like me, we're just going to pat it down, get it round like that, and we start with a round shape already, then it's a lot easier to do. Now you just sprinkle a little bit on. It's always important to keep the underneath smooth, keep your pastry moving. So you give it a roll and a turn, a roll and a turn, a roll. Basically, you just keep rolling and turning. If it feels a little bit sticky, just dust a little bit on, but don't go chucking loads on because you don't want to make it, you don't want to change the quantity of the things. And then just pick it up, sprinkle a little under there, chuck it there, and then move it, and then get that moving, and then roll again. Okay, so if you can see on mine, I'll try picking it up so people can see. You can see the butter there, see it? So that'll just cook into this lovely. Right, now you notice I'm not turning as much, but I'm more skilled on the rolling pin than most people. Bit of space. I'm making it and it's getting bigger and I'm running out of table. Right, so that's still moving. See how we're keeping that moving? A bit more flour there, we'll just chuck a little bit under there. But you always keep that moving. Don't literally, if you just keep doing that, if you literally just kept doing that, all that does that stick to the bottom, you go to pick it up and you'll be all over the place. You literally just keep rolling, keep moving. And now this is when you get to pound coin, you stick a pound coin down. And I'm just a little bit higher than the pound coin, so I'm just going to give that another little bit of a turn. A little bit of a roll. Now pick it up with your fingers in between your two fingers, just there. Go around the edges and just feel. Does it all feel the same? Or have you got like one side? I got a little bit there, it's a little bit thicker. Because you'll find that when you're rolling, you roll in different angles, so you can end up having it a little bit. Right, mine feels really good now. So next, once you've got this stage, that's under the pound coin, or level with a pound coin. It's nice and big, it's evenly rolled out because I felt it all the way around, so I know that much. It's moving, which is good. So then take your case, plonk it on, make sure it's got like, depending on how deep it is, you know, you need overflow of sort of that all the way around. I can see I've got that on mine. Right, so the easiest way to do it, well, there's two ways. We can do over the rolling pin like that, and then just pot it on. You pop the case underneath. Let's see if I can do it without breaking it. So pop that over there, and then just put that back over. Yep. So that's that way. Or another way, if you've not got a good enough rolling pin, cut it in, turn it into half, into quarters. Now you can pick it up because we've got a smaller sheet. Pop that there. Pop your pastry in, then just unfold it again. Right, see that? So we've unfolded our pastry. It's gone into here. Right, because mine's short, it's broke. Not an issue. Right, what we do now is you don't want to stretch this. You want to pick it up from the outside. This is very important. Pick it up from the outside and just let it settle down. Just shake it down into the pan. Right, can you see that? We're seeing some, just shaking that down into the pan there. Because the moment you start pressing it and stretching it, your pastry shrinks, and then you'll end up with a rubbish, it'll sink down below the level of the pie and everything. It's just a nightmare. So you just ease it in. And if you get a little bit sticky bits, just dust your hands in a bit of flour. Right, so I've eased all that in nice and gently. I've got no tension in that pastry. I've got a hole there. But what you do, put it back together. Right, what I normally do now is just dust my knuckles, and you want to knuckle into that corner there, down in the bottom. So we just gently press it down, and at the same time, what I do is I just lift that top up gently to take the tension off, so we don't stretch it, and then all the way around. And I've got a tin foil case as well, which makes it even harder to do, because every time I'm doing this it's like moving. Hopefully you've all got nice china ones, etc, etc. Mind you, Natalie, you might struggle because you've got one of them silicone ones, but if you just do that. Right, there we go. So I've got my case all put down and my pastry's all in there. I'm right into them corners. You can see there, I've pushed all that into them corners. Right, you can either take a sharp knife, or what is a lot easier, which no one ever does, take a pair of scissors. I have kitchen scissors, and I'm just going to cut the excess off around there, like that. Now you want to leave about that much, so we can just sort of fold it over or use it as the thing. You don't want to cut it short. I mean, you can do this with a knife, you can just go around with a knife, not a problem. I just always find it easier with a pair of scissors. Don't waste that pastry, keep that, because that's going to make your leaves in a minute. Right, now this is the bit you shouldn't do, but it's going to be for leaves, it don't matter, because now we've got to knead that back together. Now that's doing the gluten now. So that's going to go a little bit tougher than that one there. Right, so I'm just going to pop that back in the fridge in a moment, because you'll probably notice by now, if you're doing this, if you've got proper pastry like me, that's gone all, the butter's properly melted in there now. Right, so now we can do various sorts of decorations on here. We can keep that flat. I'll tell you what, we'll go with ropes, because everybody's going to have a bit of extra pastry. Right, so now what I want to do is I just want to line this up. Take your thumb, and I want to line that up with the edge of your tin. Don't worry about it being thick, because this is going to take a bit of heat anyway. So you can see me just going around now. I'm just, keep your hands in flour. Like I say, I've got tin foil and it's slightly harder to do on this. Now you could just go straight forward and crimp that. You could do, should we do it and show you? Is it going to muck up from your finger? Well, I can flatten it back out. So you could get your 4 fingers and you could just crimp that around like that to give you that nice edge. There's various ways. You can do the knuckle one where they do that. So So I'm showing you different things. You take your 2 knuckles and then you push into there. Right, don't worry about if you've got any little overhanging bits, just take a knife and trim them round. So now I've got a nice case there that I've crimped around the top, but I was actually going to do rope around the top, so I'm going to flatten mine down. I know I'm messing around a bit here, but I'm trying to show you all different options, what people can do.
Can I just ask you, how long does Geraldine put a case in the oven for? She's already put it in? Because you're baking off then, I suppose.
Geraldine, right, so if you're blind baking it, Geraldine, you want to pop them in the oven for about 15 minutes. But have you put beans and stuff in it and paper? Right, so if everybody's got a case like that, so now go and grab some of them scrap pastries. Right, so take a bit of that pastry that we had, pop your case to the side because we don't need that for about 2 seconds. Right, so take a little ball like that. As this is going to be the thingy pastry, you can just mix that a little bit and get that done. Right, now I want to make a sausage because we're going to make a rope to go around the outside of our thing just to give it a nice edge. Right, before I was saying about making I can't think what I was saying now because I can't remember. It'll come back to me in a minute. Right, anyway, if you just keep rolling your doobie bits out here.
Your bit of decoration?
Yeah. So you can see I've got a nice, it's quite thin. Got a bit of flour down there. I'm just debating whether to put the edge on now or when I put the flowers on.
Natalie says leaves.
Yeah, we're going to be doing leaves in a second. I'll show you that. We're going to put an edge around first. Just this will help people that have also got a slightly lesser case. Right, so take yourself, you can see I've got that now, so you want to straighten that off. So we literally just straighten that down there like that. We want 2 strips about 1/2 inch thick. This might not be enough to go around it, you might have to roll a little bit more to add on, but it's always a bit of a guesswork. So take 1 bit and then cross it over. Now, so you've got a cross, now you literally just turn every bit over, just yeah, basically you're just like you're plaiting your daughter's hair. Not that I ever did. Right, so yeah, so you can see we're just plaiting that. I reckon we're going to need to do another bit, but this just gives a nice edge. Now just trim that off there. So we've got that there. Get a little bit of water. Do we have our water pot? Let's get a cup. There you go, Joe.
So you're giving it a bit more depth then, are you?
We're just adding a bit of prettiness onto it, but also if people are struggling with the depth. Right, so just for stickiness, dab your fingers in water and just run it along the edge here. If you're not doing this, you know, don't worry, just sit back and watch. So I've just added that there. Then pick up your said decoration and then just plonk that around. Yeah, so we've only done half there. Right, see how much we've got a nice edge now. So it just makes it that bit prettier, and then just press that down. Right, so I'm gonna have to do the same again. So if you're copying me, you need to do the same again. So you want another bit of pastry about so big. So, is everybody doing the decorations, or is it just me and, was it Natalie that wanted to do it?
Natalie, I don't know. Oh, Oh no, it was Emma, wasn't it?
Emma.
I think she was on like decorating.
Oh, we're going to do the top as well. We're going to pop this around the outside, and I'm going to blind bake this in a second. So anybody who's watching that's not doing the decorations, get yourself a bit of paper now. Cut enough to cover your pie. And then get your who's got baking beans? The genius things. If you like your baking, you can buy yourself some.
Damon said he's trying to do the decorating like you.
You're trying. Good stuff. Right.
Mary's going to make it in the week.
Mary as in Mary.
You won last week.
Mary. Right, there we go. Right, so again, we're just doing exactly the same as I just done.
Little Helen's trying.
It's getting, my pastry's getting quite warm now. See, that butter's all starting to melt into it. Right. So again, 2 lines, about 1/2 inch each. Cross it in the middle, like so, and then just plat them over.
Apparently George has streamed this to his ERB page, so you've got a lot more people coming in watching.
Oh right, okay.
I keep seeing different names pop up.
Well, if these ERP people,
ERB.
go on there and there's a recipe in there. If you're going to do that, send me some pictures. I'm going to pick the best one out and give it a free apron to. Right, so.
Yeah, you've got a week to do it, haven't you?
Yeah. I'm going to pop my other plat on there. It's a little bit long, so we just pull that bit off there and just mould it in. Right, there we go. Done. So I've got a nice edge on mine. You can see that. Right, next. Your baking paper. So sheet of your baking paper, let's pop that up there, you can see me doing that. So a sheet of that's too much, I'm just going to cut that in half. And now we're going to blind bake this base off. So hopefully everybody's up with me. Right, let's pop that down there. So we're going to pop the paper in there, try not to drag down your plat.